that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Hello, welcome to Platinum Station, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Black. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here.
You don't sound it.
I am. It's been a big week. Are we finally going to get into the big FTC case and how Xbox has been screwing the pooch and saying all these emails are coming out? See the latest one? That bit is like we could spend Sony out of business.
Yeah. My problem is there's just so many tangents, little tidbits and stuff that I have no idea how to even talk about it on any podcast. We just have
to wait till it's over.
Yeah, I need someone to have once the court case is over, I just need an article called here's all every random wild thing that came up amongst the chat. The number one thing I want to know, though, we won't know because so far only one thing's been as far as I've seen has been covered up, which was there was a short hearing with or short testimony or something from fucking Jimmy Ryan, and that was covered up. Redacted, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? And apparently, because this is the first day of the trial, and then apparently I saw everyone being like, Sony really doesn't want something to come up tomorrow, and then the next day it was, it was redacted. So,
guess what? We won't know ever.
Maybe. I mean, I'm down for a good old leak. You know what I mean? We got all these video games leaked. Just leak me the court cases.
Yeah.
I mean, I also just can't keep up. And I'm not sure. Do you know how much longer they're expecting this to go?
No, I think it's forever.
Because because it started on a Thursday last week, so there was only a couple days of it, and then they took the weekend off, obviously, and now it's Tuesday, aka Monday in America, and I'm like, am I just going to wake up every day now with more and more
tidbits
happening? It's this morning, wake up, Xbox was trying to buy Sega, all this
no, but then they tried to buy Take-Two and all sorts of stuff.
They're really just trying to buy everyone. So
I mean, that's all they can do. Can't make any kind of agreements with other companies, talk to them and come to some sort of arrangement. Nope, just buy them outright. Cut out the middleman, apparently, is their strategy.
Working to a degree, I guess.
Don't want to foster partnerships or
But yeah, it's been, I don't know. I'd say it's interesting, but also it's just frustratingly hard to keep up with is the other thing, There's just all these tweets and articles and stuff I'm seeing, and I'm like,
it's also mixed in with all the fanboy console wall shit. So,
and then every time there's a little thing, then people are writing their opinions on a one sentence out of context, bit from a case that's nothing really. I mean, it is to do with that's why they're bringing it up, but ultimately is nothing to do with the Activision thing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wild time.
It is a wild time.
Final Fantasy.
Yes.
So I'm sort of annoyed. I kind of wish that this game just had chapters or something because it'd be very easy just to be like, what chapter are you up to?
I feel like it does.
Does it?
I feel like each chapter ends with an icon fight.
Well, I guess, but it doesn't tell you the chapters. No. And also it gives you level names, I guess, or quote unquote levels, where it pops up and it's a field of sorrow, a story of
a journey,
swords, a journey of meaning, all these various things. But so let's talk. I think the way I was going to do it is just as far as I'm concerned, anyone listening to this who cares about it's playing it. And we don't need to go full spoilers, but if we just go a little bit further than the demo, you know what I mean? Then by the time we're sort of, surely that's fine.
Sure.
So
if you don't want to listen to this, skip ahead, check out the show notes.
Yeah.
Dylan probably has done them.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be most of, if not
most
the whole
episode. Yeah.
This episode at this point. But because obviously you didn't finish the demo properly. So my first question was going to be, so how did you solve this? Because it wouldn't have let you didn't have a quote unquote completed save to load when you started the game properly.
No, it just picked up the exact spot.
Oh, did it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
It was pretty seamless. I was actually quite impressed how seamlessly it like kind of went across, picked up, had the exact same items, everything. So
Yeah.
pretty simple. I feel like our discussion last week shaded how I viewed the story, because I hadn't seen the Icon fight at the end of the Icon fight where, spoilers, Ifrit just murders the Phoenix and Joseph, I guess. And you had said, oh, it looks like old mate Clive is Ifrit. But the story wants you to believe that somebody else was Ifrit. But now I'm going, you idiot, you were Ifrit the entire time. The entire time he's chasing this person for 13 years. It's like, so, I mean, that was a fun wrinkle, but...
Don't worry, so am I. I mean, I continue the game after that whole discussion. I start the game properly. They're like, no, it's this guy over here, this hooded person. He's trying to like chase around and stuff like that. I'm like, this is a red herring. Because I'm not wrong.
No. Doesn't make sense for the rest of the game. Yeah, so.
How much further have you played?
I've not picked it up since we talked about it on our couch.
How much have you played?
Probably like 6 hours, I want to say. So.
Where are you going to roughly put you?
I'm like after the first Icon, no, the second Icon fight, I guess.
Second Icon fight.
It's when he's all chained up by old mate Sid, naked in a cell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For reasons. Internet.
Do you think the demo? Do you think it's a good or a bad thing in retrospect that the demo just gives you the first couple of hours of the game, and like instead of like chucking you in to sort of say like one of the more open world sectiony areas and just let you explore there for a bit and do some combat?
No, I think from what I've read, you should check out the Quality Critics article we got up on the website. It seems like a lot of the game is quite linear until later in the game. So having a section that's very linear makes sense to give people like a taste of the game, of what the structure of the game is going to be. So I feel like it is a pretty solid opening, and obviously it is the demo did set up a lot of the world and that kind of stuff, and the jumping around and elements like that. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people would have made a decision based on the demo, and I feel like people who wouldn't have enjoyed what they got in the demo wouldn't have ended up enjoying the game.
It's a hard one, I guess, because
it's a hard one because you enjoyed the demo and then you end up not caring much about the rest of the game, So.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm the way I'd describe where I'm up to. So I'm way further than you.
Yeah,
I'm like, if this game was PS1 game, I've hit the please and set disc 2
section.
Yes, that's how I felt. I felt like a major like story thing happened, like another. Well, there's a few, but like very significant story moment happened. Sort of fade out, fade back in. Sort of like after insert disc 2 pops up on screen is how I like to picture my Final Fantasy games. And yeah, I'm very much like I'm playing the game and I have full plans to finish it, but I do definitely feel like the more and more I play it, the less I like it. Which is such a weird thing to say because it's also then just like maybe just stop. But I'm also like, okay, at the big significant story moment I just did, it was a pretty damn cool fight, and it was like a cool like cinematic moment. But then the like 3-4 hours prior to that, I was pretty fucking bored. and now that I've come out on the other side of that like hour of good stuff, the game's like slowed right the fuck back down, and it's like do like meaningless fetch quests here for a bit or something like that, and I'm like, I don't know if I really care. Like, I just sort of, and I think that's I don't know. I just feel like this game's pacing is so fucking weird. Like,
yeah,
And everyone keeps bringing up this Yoshi P quote about the game being a roller coaster. I'm like, yeah, but you look like I don't know, roller coasters are like pacing of a roller coaster is like, you know, that's part of a design point. And
roller
like,
coasters are over pretty quick. You know,
yeah,
you
usually
don't.
like,
It's you don't notice like the straight bits very much on like a roller coaster.
yeah, like what's the maximum roller coaster goes for is like what, a couple minutes maybe on a
Maybe.
long one.
It's like a old school like wooden one.
Yeah, we're talking like a 50-hour plus RPG, and you're talking about pacing it like a roller coaster. Like I just don't, I just don't think that's the thing, because what the roller coasters usually, you know, it's a slow build up, but then once that shit gets going, it's usually good.
Yeah.
And maybe it slows down again for a whole of like 10 seconds to fuck with you, but then it's like, zoop, you're off again. You know, this game is like build up for hours and hours and hours. Major moment for like an hour, and then I feel like I'm now going to spend hours and hours and hours just rebuilding up. And I guess that the analogy is supposed to mean that the slow build up is worth it because you get these massive icon fights.
Maybe it's less of one ride of a roller coaster, but like multiple rides.
Yeah, but like anytime when I was a kid and
you
I went
stay
to
in the
like
seat and you go back up and then you go back.
When I was a kid and we went to like around Australia somewhat, and we like obviously went up to Movie World and all that sort of stuff. I was like so excited. I remember there was one ride. We went during school time. There was no lines. It was awesome. And me and my dad like pretty much went on this one roller coaster like over and over and over because there was no lines, and it was awesome. And it took like 30 seconds for the roller coaster, but no lines meant it was like I'll fucking happily go again. I don't know. I just can't see myself finishing this game again.
Is there anything like drawing you forward rather than the, you know?
Well, it's the problem. Like I mean, ultimately there is stuff I like, but I just don't think what I like so far. If I was to write it down on a list of like, here's my positives and here's my negatives, the negatives are going to significantly outweigh the positives. I do like Clive. I think he's an interesting character. Yeah. He's like somewhere between your typical Final Fantasy emo hot boy sort of design and more traditional high fantasy, dark fantasy characterization, which I can appreciate. I think the performance, like the voice acting and that role being performed is really well done. That makes that character interesting enough. I don't think there's anyone else like Sid is the only other character that I'd say has any like personality to him in this entire game. And the amount of characters in this game are tiny anyway. Like of note, you know, like the amount of people who actually, and this is the other thing. And I know this is in a world we've been talking about, and we talk about this in Arcade Couch where everyone online's been talking about like, what is a Final Fantasy game? What isn't? To me, it's not that I don't think you should do a Final Fantasy game with this without a party. Like, I don't think there's a strict rule, but I think there is a lesson here of like
there's a party.
There has to be a party. Like, I don't understand how like this is like, it's not even a Final Fantasy thing. It's just a massive RPG thing. Like, there's always a party, right? That's the characters you care about, and you meet some people along the way, and sure, stuff like that. But the majority of the game is built around this core cast of characters that go on a journey with you, usually some sort of road trip or, you know, adventure around the world or what have you. And along the way, you will build relationships with those characters. Those characters build relationships with other people. Maybe they have little side quests to help, like overcome the things I've mentioned near the start of the game, etc., etc. I mean, even if you think about Mass Effect, right? Western RPG, that's still a party. You know, you only bring two people with you on a mission, but that entire ship on the Normandy is your party for the game, right? So I don't think it's any different to that. And this game just having into basically swapping in and out between two characters, Sid and someone else. I'm not sure if I can say. I think it's probably a spoiler. Yeah. Swapping out between Sid and someone else as you get a little bit further into the game, and they're like your two party members. And I'm not counting the dog. Like,
Fuck you.
nothing against the dog, but the dog ain't coming up to me saying like, man,
Toggle.
let me talk about my problems.
He might be. You don't know.
Maybe it's like an end game thing. I don't know.
He's got abandonment issues.
Mm. And I think the other interesting characters are the bad guys, but the bad guys are just like seen every couple hours in cutscenes as well, where it says "meanwhile" and it like swaps over to something, one of the other kingdoms, to show you what the fuck's happening over there, and stuff like that. I mean, not to go into like deep spoilers, but at some stage, I don't think you've hit it yet. You're probably an hour or so away from it. I swear, there's a cutscene where it's like "meanwhile," it cuts over to like one of the kingdoms fighting the other one, and like they're with their two icons. Have you seen this one already?
With Odin and something
Bahamut.
else.
Yeah. It's like, that's cool. That's a really fucking sick cutscene and everything like that. And you're like, this dude's interesting. Like, what's his story? And the game goes, nah, dude. Like, I might tell you in about 10 hours. Like, it's just.
I mean, from what I've read as well, the game opens up late in the game, so it kind of feels like an old school game where listen, you need to play like 30 hours and then the game gets good. But
people said this is the problem, and people had the same problem, I guess, with Final Fantasy 13, because 13 was super fucking linear for 2/3 of it, and then the last third the game got open, and by open I mean there's like there's one open area, right, where you can go around, fight monsters and whatever else. It's a cool story, but there's no like player agency or choice in what you're doing. It's not like it's not that the game's linear. That's my major problem. It's just that the linear design and the structure of the game is not well done. Like, I think this game wants to be more this game definitely wishes to be more a Devil May Cry action game.
Yep.
In its both design and gameplay, than it wants to be a traditional Final Fantasy game. And that's what they're trying to do. And to that I say, fine, try something different. But at the end of the day, if I'm saying what you tried is, in my opinion, not good, like, I just don't think it, because if you were to compare this to some of the no, I'm not going to say that, because some people I've seen say that this is like better than a lot of those Devil May Cry games and stuff, which I think is absolute insanity. I mean, even if I compare this to Bayonetta 3, and even taking my fucking fanboy hat off for Bayonetta,
I don't know if you can do that.
But Bayonetta is actually weirdly similar to this, because it has these it's a linear level design that quite often leads up to these massive these fucking fights where the characters all turn into giant fucking kaiju level monsters and you fight out, and that's part of the gameplay. And that game's pacing, and that game's about 20 hours. No, be less than that. It's probably like 12 to 16 hours, I guess. But that's the thing. Like, a lot of these action, like Devil May Cry 5 was about 20 hours, right? So I've played that. That's another thing. So that's probably one of the longest action games I've played in recent memory. Like, strict linear action games, Devil May Cry 5. But the pacing of that game is like way, way better. Like, that game, but they've made a bunch of those, and they just know how to pace those action games. And the way you unlock new powers, the way Dante gets new upgrades for his hand gear thing or whatever, I can't remember the official name of it, but like the main thing in that game, and the way you always want to try out new abilities and like into upgrade things or whatever else. If I compare this game less to Final Fantasy and I compare it more to something like Devil May Cry or any of those sorts of games, the game very obviously wants to be inspired by, and in fact was developed by people from from Platinum or whatever. It's just not anywhere close to touching their fucking grass. You know? I think that's my that's my biggest problem. I seriously don't get it. I think this is an average. This is a fucking very mediocre game so far. That is only the only reason I can see anyone enjoying this. This is the part that confuses me. I don't understand I'm getting some enjoyment out of this only because of being a long time Final Fantasy fan. Is the only reason I feel like I'm getting any sort of like long-term enjoyment out of this at the moment. Like, again, this is the thing I talk about. Arcade Couch. Seeing these massive icon fights, it doesn't matter that this is Final Fantasy 16. Those icons, those summons, they're in every single game, right? So they're fucking cool to see no matter what, these massive, hugely beautiful new versions of them and stuff like that. So like, even though they're not the exact same characters, you're still like, that's Bahamut, that's Odin, that's, you know, like that's Ramus, that's whoever else, all these characters. So that's cool, but other than that, I just don't understand. I've seen people say that I've seen people both say this is only for the hardcore, which I would get to a degree, even though I'd say like, no, I don't see a hardcore Final Fantasy fan loving this. And then I've seen other people swing the other way and say, no, this game's for like the new age of Final Fantasy fans. This is for the people who love the more action games. To which I would say that's probably the way I think it was being designed, but I just don't think it's a good action game. So I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts?
You know, I feel like it's definitely interesting seeing the discourse around it, and you know, definitely, obviously, it's got a very high critical score, like across the board. Lots of people have reviewed it very well, so there must be good stuff. There must be good stuff in there.
Or is it those Final Fantasy AAA blinders? Is that what, like?
Wow, you're calling out everybody.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see some like I know some reviewers, like, you know, they're quite happy to give a 10 to pretty much anything, and then, but I've seen some more critical reviewers who I respect and have very critical views on stuff have a very positive reaction to the game. So, I mean, it is just a matter of taste. I feel like maybe you want your action. I feel like you want something that's definitely like, this feels like it's a middle ground between an RPG and an action game. And I feel like you want something that's more in either direction.
Yeah, I just don't think I feel like this is the way I describe combo washer dryers to people at my work. It does neither particularly well.
But it's in the one game. So, I mean, yeah, if the story's not working for you, if the characters aren't working for you, I don't know what to tell you.
I guarantee no
I'll put that on the box.
I was about to say, I guarantee no one's
Final Fantasy 16. It's a combo washer dryer of a game. Let's tweet that out.
I was about to say, I should make sure. I'll remember to tweet that out after we're done recording.
Clip this audio, yeah.
See if that ain't gets any traction as a quote. Square Enix is like, oh, use that? That sounds great. I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah. We love combo washer dryers. Fucking, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'll finish it. See how it goes. Because the other thing is, like, so I'm up to 3 icon powers now, right?
Ooh.
And I know that's where people have been talking about. You know, once you get 3 or 4, the powers, like, the combat really opens. But I don't think it does, because all it means is that you have the ability to quickly spam a bunch of more special abilities. But then, like, after that shit, like, and it looks fucking cool. And you can do some cool things where you like initiate a certain ability that like sends enemies flying up into the air, and then you know to switch over to like the fire one, you know, from the start, and you can do your little dash to them, and then you can like you can do some cool stuff. But I just don't feel like it feels as interactive or like responsive as like doing a well-timed dodge into a proper like combo in a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or something like that. As far as because all I'm doing really is I'm holding R2, clicking triangle, and then clicking circle. Like, I just don't feel like I'm doing.
I feel like you'd say that about any game. I just have to push square and X to jump. You know, it's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But... Well, it's like you go back to the original like God of War trilogy games. At least, like, so if you're thinking about cool combos in that, it would be like, all right, so you have to remember, like, if you hold down triangle, do the strong uppercuts and enemies flying into the air, press circle to like grapple towards them, and then you press, if you've unlocked like press square 4 times, there's a combo there, press triangle after a split second to initiate, like legit combos, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Rather than just, I remembered to press 3 buttons in the correct order. I just don't like. It looks fun. I'm not going to take away
the most powerful attacks.
Yeah.
As often as humanly possible.
I don't want to take away it looks cool. It looks fucking cool, right? The game's combat, the more abilities you unlock, the combat both gets super fucking easy is the other thing. Like, it's actually harder at the start of the game because you have less abilities, I feel. Which is sort of a plus and negative because it does make more sense the stronger you get, the easier the game gets. But
yeah.
Like, it's sort of this narrative dissonance thing. But like, but combat then becomes a fucking hectic plane full of, like, you'll have like 20 enemies and then they're just like spam all your abilities and be like, cool, I'll just spam triangle on this one dude that's left and square on this one dude that's left, and that's probably about it, eh? So yeah, well, I'll probably I think at this stage it's like, I know we said we'll be talking about it for weeks. I think I said that last week, coming off the idea that I'd probably not want to talk about it. Yeah, I just want to I'll be excited about it every week. But now that I'm on this roller coaster of emotions, as Yoshi P would say, probably just leave this until I finish it and then get my final thoughts out there. I feel I'm gonna put I actually don't think you finished the game. I think you drop off.
There's a fair chance,
Yeah. Knowing what you're like sometimes, I think the fact that you're already like, man. And I don't blame you because I'd love to play it too. But the fact that you're already like, man, I'm just going to play Rogue Legacy. I think you're done.
It's so good. It's so easy.
I'm not arguing.
You come home from a full day of work. Do you want to go into a depressing medieval thing, or do you want to go into the more lighthearted medieval thing?
I mean, we used to come home from work and watch Game of Thrones. So
yeah, that's true. but that was a cultural event.
Yeah. Okay.
Final
Fantasy is not a cultural event. Is that like the deciding factor? Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, I think that So I got nothing else really for this week, to be honest. Unless you got anything to.
No, not really. I mean, Gorilla put that Lance Reddick tribute in the Forbidden West.
That's cool.
That's cool. Nice touch.
Nice touch.
We touched on the FTC stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty quiet week for PlayStation. I mean, other than the massive
Final Fantasy, they got a massive game
exclusive.
out, but got a massive first party exclusive out, but which I just shat on for about half an hour, but that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah,
that's why they didn't send me a review copy. They knew.
Did you ask?
I actually don't think I did.
Well, there you go.
But I should expect them to just shut up.
I'm not going to charge.
Stop ruining my joke. Expecting me to ask and shit? Fucking hell. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. Thank you for listening to the show and joining us. Of course, you can listen to the rest of our podcast on explosionnetwork.com. Check out all the articles, news, reviews over on the website as well. Follow us on Twitter. explosionnetwork.com/Twitter takes you to our Twitters, and explosionnetwork.com/Discord takes you to our Discord. Come talk to us over there if you would like to voice your opinions on Final Fantasy and how you're feeling about it, or just, I don't know, Rogue Legacy. I don't really give a fuck. Ash would appreciate that more, I'm sure. Until next week, remember, every trophy counts.